I'm trying. I'm still working on that project right now. We're getting there. I think maybe by the end of the game I'll get them.
There we go.
That was fun. My friend and I figured that today. I mean, we've been selling the T-shirts now for 8 years. So, we've had friends reach out, say, hey, remember you sold me a shirt? But that was fun today. We had a good time with that.
Very nice. Yeah, I saw that. That was fun.
Yeah, we like to have a good time. We just kind of, like I said, we just go with the flow. It's my husband's spirit of love. We just ride on his angel wings.
Oh,
that's beautiful.
And we do. We really do. And that's kind of the spirit of our team the last 7 years is we don't get too high. We don't get too low. We really just say thy will be done and we see what the good Lord's going to do. And it's a good philosophy for life, given the world we're living in. None of us know what tomorrow's going to bring. So, like I said, everything is thy will be done. And then you just enjoy each minute, as Greg taught us all. So that's kind of that's my story.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
Yep, absolutely.
You gotta choose that attitude. You gotta choose that attitude. I could be bitter and angry, but I chose, to have an I can attitude.
Yeah, gotta have that attitude. Charge, you wearing the bracelet?
All right, that's my wife said that's why I'm wearing, or why they're winning. Absolutely, Billy sent this bracelet.
I have not worn it at any point. I have not worn mine at any point actually, because it's somewhere in one of these boxes. So the deal is but it hasn't hurt you guys, so there's no reason to go against it now. So how's everybody doing? We're not live yet. We're still kind of shooting the breeze. We're on YouTube, but the show has officially started. If you're watching us right now on the channel, our technical staff is not smart enough yet to figure out how to have it go in as a tight container. So you'll see behind the scenes as usual. At the bottom, you will see that shared thing at the end. If we have time, we might take calls. We may not. It really depends on our time frame here. So we want to make sure we have time to watch the game, which will be a great one. Matt Martucci, what do you think about this game? Just square foot. We're going to do a full segment. Are you excited about this?
Oh, I couldn't be more excited. I think if you watched last year's Wichita Regional Final, I mean, this is you've been waiting for this for a while. Just in especially the backcourts with both of these teams. There's just so much scoring on both sides. It's gonna. I mean, you know how this tournament works. It's gonna come down to who can get stops at the end. And with these two teams, the way that both of them score, it wouldn't be surprising to me. And normally you're used to saying calling college basketball. I'm used to saying whoever has the ball last. But I mean, it could be like the other day. It could be like 85-85 or 75-75, and our target score might be 77. So
yeah, it's true. Hey, so real quick, before we're live, but we're not live. You guys have done the show all understand that. Does anybody have an opinion on calling a timeout on a 2-and-2 fast break if you're OE there? Does anybody have a strong opinion about that? What do you think?
I'm sure they do.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember because who was team covering there? It was a big, wasn't it like a bigger power wing or something? I forgot who had the ball there.
Yeah, they had a big time. That was the end of that would have been the end of the game.
That was a bucket. I mean,
that was a bucket.
8 feet away with Keene, who has probably been the best player in this tournament, but with his size, that's a mismatch. I mean, give me Keene over 40 minutes, but don't give me him as a post defender, obviously. And then you got that matchup, and it's just not going to work, obviously.
Yep.
So,
don't you guys find it funny how we'll always nitpick a play at the end of a game, and there's such a sequence of plays that happen throughout a game that dictate the game, and it's oh, we're only nitpicking that one. It's there's so many things that happen. It just the game ended up the way it should have ended up.
Sure. Basketball's a cruel sport too.
Oh
Charge. Are there any charge players in this game?
No, not today. Not today. We got nobody. I got to talk to Billy and fix that. They almost had Kevin Olakabe last year, so there is some charge spirit that's interacted with sideline, and so we're gonna write off of that today.
Okay, guys, everybody's warm. Everybody's ready. Tim will come as he can. I think it might be time to go live simply because I know that we've got a tight window. We want to make sure everybody has time to get off our show and go watch the big game. That's the desire. This is going to be one of the best games we've all seen, correct? Okay, we all ready to go?
100%.
Okay, we're going to make this show then officially live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, Charge and Hater, we've got our last pregame show of the season. We are at the end of the road, and we have Zoom the TBT tonight. We're very excited. We have a lot of great guests here coming tonight. We'll bring them to you piecemeal. So if you're watching, expect some great people for the next 45 minutes. Can't wait to get into it. Charge, let's introduce our guest analyst first, though.
Yeah, no, we're packed with some legendary TBT GMs today. So Matt Mitchell, co-GM of Eberline Drive, actually pronounced it right this time. 7-time participant, once a co-GM of the year in 2018 and a 2018 TBT finalist. So you know what these teams are going through tonight, Matt.
Absolutely. A lot of anxious nerves, but a lot of excitement. And I'm sure they're just looking forward to getting out there and seeing the ball tip.
Yeah, we appreciate you joining. We also have Mike Iliano from Team 23, and my slide shifted, so I'm going to have to remember your bio, but I believe it was 2015 that you were a TBT finalist, 6-time participant. I'm hoping I'm right on that, and, been around the game for a long time, and you know what they're going through as well, playing overseas elite in the finals 2015.
Oh, yeah. The 2015 seems a long time ago at this point. But
it feels like 5,000 years ago, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, especially when you think about how hard the event has gotten.
Oh.
Absolutely. And tell you how hard that event has gotten. Let's go ahead and get back to that the slides, because we can see then we're talking about, and this has been a pretty interesting field. And Charge, can you talk a little bit about the road that the Golden Eagles had to do to get here?
Yeah, the road for the Golden Eagles, they started out with CP3, so they had that nice bracket that had Eberline in it originally, Team Brotherly Love, real challenging bracket. So they took out CP3, won by 9 points there. Team Brotherly Love, which a lot of teams had going deep, top 8 last year. They beat them by 7, and obviously that really good game against Red Scare in the semifinals, and they took them by 9 points to advance to the finals tonight against Sideline Cancer.
Yeah, and then I guess we can also talk about Sideline Cancer having a string of just really great upsets, going against a EuroLeague All-Star team in Team Hines, a very good veteran, also a finalist, Final Four type team in ALS, the always difficult Bayheim's Army, and then beating the 4-time champs and ISO Joe, the 7-time All-Star, in a nail-biter in that semifinal. So really a really tough road to get to through all this. Let's get kind of in depth about this final, though. Let's talk a little bit about, again, the Golden Eagles, these matchups. Let's bring in Mike a little bit. Let's have Mike again. So, Mike, looking at these matchups, how hard was this road for them to get to this final game?
Oh, it was difficult. I don't think it was as difficult as Sideline Cancers, but I think everyone they've faced is quality. I thought Chris Paul's team was actually really good. They were throwing diamond presses out there, which is something you really haven't seen in TBT. I mean, the Red Scare team, 2 years in a row, they've lost to 2 quality teams. And I would have loved to see them face Matt Mitchell and Eberline Drive, though. So I feel like there's an asterisk there.
This whole year is a bit of an asterisk, though. Let's just be honest. The whole year there. And Charles, looking at these stats of this roster, these are obviously the career stats, not the current ones. But not just that road, but talk about a little bit about the team composition there, Charles. How the spread attack with all these different weapons makes a difficult challenge in a final game.
Yeah, the really big thing that the Golden Eagles have going for them is experience. They've improved every single year, going from round of 16 to Final Fours to the finals. Last year, losing to Ohio State Carmen's crew. And so they've improved every year, and it just goes to show you how important cohesion is across the board. So now they have an opportunity to play against Sideline Cancer for a championship. And the centerpiece here really is Jamil Wilson. Everyone talks about DJ Kennedy as being being a first ballot Hall of Famer for TBT. Jamil Wilson's stats would rival his at any point. They added Darius Johnson-Odom since last year. He's played with the team prior, but played with Loyalty is Love last year, and they brought him back. So they have a lot of cohesion. Dwight Bikes always performs, and then some good veterans like Diener and Acker. So very formidable opponent for Sideline Cancer tonight.
I want to loop Matt from Eberline in because I know you guys were on a crash course with them before the unfortunate sort of situation of having to remove yourselves. Like when you were starting a game plan for this potential matchup, what player scared you the most on this team?
I think that's what's tough about the Marquette team is there's so many weapons. So you have Jamil Wilson, obviously, Johnson Odom, Dwight Bikes. Mo Acker. There's go down the list. They can hurt you from a lot of different spots, and so. Thankfully we did have a lot of intel, I guess you could say. We've seen them perform in TBT extremely well, but we did have kind of a game plan to go up against them. Although we were really focused on Brotherly is Love, and wish we would have had a chance to play them. But either way, we knew that there was going to be a tough road through this side of the bracket.
I think what's really interesting about both the squads we're going to talk about tonight in this pregame this prelude to a championship is the depth. I mean, both these teams definitely – The favorite, I think the official word of this podcast in episode 41 now, Charge, I believe, is cohesion's probably our official term, isn't it? That's the word, cohesion. Absolutely. I mean, both these teams are deep and have a lot of cohesion, a lot of experience playing there. You see them in the slide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 people, their last team was this team. So they're used to playing each other. And that sort of continuity is a real weapon in this format. Let's go ahead and go to Sideline Cancer. Actually, Kathy, are you warm? Because I'd like to, we're going to talk about her at length a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about the road you saw getting here, as a fan? Because obviously this is the foundation that you were playing for your foundation, but you watch all these games, obviously. How exciting was this road?
It really was so exciting because Jermaine Marshall's spirit, when I met Jermaine for the first time, there was something about him that he just had such leadership qualities. And we were at that point, we are one of the original teams. Billy had gotten that email from Rob Kennedy back in 2014. My husband, Greg, the first fundraiser we did, and I'll segue right to what I saw in the game. Greg always felt that one day there would be a platform. He would liken it to summertime, that 6-week period on ESPN where there's nothing on TV. So my whole life with him was hearing him every summer saying, I wish there was a basketball tournament. So when Billy called me, the light bulb went off. And I said, Billy, we're in. I'll do whatever because this is something my husband talked about for years. So then I meet Jermaine Marshall. And Jermaine really took a leadership position. He got us Mo and Remy and really brought a continuity to our team. And really, we still have his spirit of love, literally inside of us. And that's what I would say. I mean, I can't talk X's and O's, but what I can talk.
Me either.
You know what I mean? I just can say Jermaine really put the whole continuity together for us when he arrived on the scene. And then unfortunately with his passing in, that was January of 19. And then that's when we went to Kansas last summer and it was still raw. We're out there in Kansas. We have a tough road between, the two teams out there, and we really, we just kept putting it out there for him. So that's what I see in our team is this fluidity to keep a torch going for Jermaine. That's what I see, what propelled him. And they keep talking about that.
It makes sense too. That definitely gave him a lot of inspiration on this road. Matt Mitchell, obviously you're on the other side of this bracket. If you saw a yearly all-star team like Hines, ALS, Bayheims, and Overseas Elite, how many hours of sleep would that have cost you, and how would you have coped with that?
And there's no doubt that if you look at those 4 teams and those 4 opponents, it's hard to pick 4 tougher ones. So credit to Sideline for making it through that. But you're absolutely right. I think, you look at a team Hines, which a lot of people think we're seated too low, should have been a higher seed or maybe even got a bye. So Sideline right off the bat had a tough one, but they've stuck with it every single game. They have those amazing finishes down the stretch, which make it exciting to watch. And I'm excited to continue to root for them, knowing that they're one of the other two, or us and them are the only two teams that have been in it all 7 years. So we have that commonality between the both of us, and got to know Billy years ago and just continue to root for them and excited to see them here on the stage.
I gotta say, Matt, too, like you definitely have one of the best Zoom caves I've seen in any
Yeah,
of
no,
the
that is as good as it gets.
I mean, I'm very jealous in my pack rat having just moved thing, which I know Charles are going to keep teasing me for keep bringing up.
It's championship night, so I figured I'd go all out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, before we get to this, because I want to make sure we have a chance to mention this, and we were going to mention it earlier. We got a little excited, kind of glossed through it. So let me come back to this card. Charge, stay warm. I want you to talk about this stat competition, but I want to come back and talk to just the GMs. We have the honor of having Matt and Mike on, and we're going to go back to those stats. So Charge, stay warm. I want to get your input on how those teams are constructed from a statistical standpoint. But I want to go to Mike first. You've had the honor of playing for this title. What is going through Billy Clapper and Coach Parker and those players' minds right now?
It's funny that about 2 days ago, I sent Billy a long message, and I kind of wanted to let him know like what we went through and why to cherish this moment, because it may never happen again. Like 5 years later, I'm still chasing it. So I want him to understand that it's kind of like in Hoosiers, when they get to the arena, the basket's still 10 feet, just soak it all in. Just know that they have to leave it out on the floor, and it may never happen again. And I think that's something we all took for granted. And I wanted him to know that don't do what we did,
Yeah, that was beautiful, Mike. He sent that to me immediately. That was beautiful. The whole context, you're exactly right. Living in the moment. I think what COVID-19 has taught us all, appreciate the moment. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We never knew that actually, but even today more so. Your text to Billy, he sent it to me, and it meant the world. I really, like I said, that was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so more recently also, Matt, Everland Drive has played for a tile in 2018, a very close loss. Like, what does it mean? How would you tell the players to prepare?
And I just would say to enjoy it. I think looking back, that whole couple weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, we're all together going game by game. You survive in advance. It kind of all became a blur. And of all the games that I feel like I remember the least, it was that championship game, which in some ways, having lost, I suppose that's an okay thing. But I just think, we've all said it. We've said it a couple of times here, but just to enjoy the moment, soak it all in. And in very literal form, it's win or go home here, or win or take all. So just to have a lot of fun and just another basketball game to go out there and compete.
Yeah, that makes sense. And thanks for your input. We really wanted to have it, so I know you guys have been in this moment before. It's a really exciting moment. And hopefully you guys are both back in this tournament next year and having a chance to compete, to be in that moment again. Let's get back to a little bit of analysis, though. So, Charles, let's talk a little bit about how this Sideline Cancer team is arranged, because they have now 10 wins. We're 6-6 coming in. I have 10 full wins, so that great lineup. And talk a bit about how they have that multi-purpose backcourt of weapons.
Yeah. First off, Billy Clapper's done an amazing job. His key coming into this year was getting as much of that core behind him, and that's extremely challenging in this day and age with TBT as a non-alumni team to keep a core together, especially after losing in the round of 64 2 years back. Made that nice run last year. So if the GM of the year doesn't go to Billy Clapper, I don't even know what to think, because he brought back the same guys. That backcourt of Keene, Creek, and Abel are just so dynamic and really hold this team together. If Keene got it in some foul trouble the other day, you wouldn't have even known he was off the court, because that offense was still clicking, moving, doing the right thing. So these guys just step right in and do it. But I think really the story of the year for me is Eric Thompson on this squad. I would argue he is probably the most valuable player on this team this year.
He's been amazing.
Stone goes out injured in the first game. He is their big man, the only big man. And, he's taken on, when you talk about Hines and ALS and Bayheims and Overseas Elite, some amazing teams, and he stepped up. He leads the TBT in rebounding, leads the TBT in blocks for people who have played 3 or more games. And, if he's left off the all-tournament team, win or lose tonight, I would be highly, highly disappointed. But Billy's goal was to bring as much of the team back. So even though he's not alumni like Marquette, we talked about cohesion. He has the cohesion, but pulled the right switches, bringing in Artis and Dion Wright, Diamond Stone before he got injured. McGlynn played some really great minutes when Keene was out the other day. So, and Billy's motto, it's not necessarily going to be the name on the jersey, the stats that they put up in the past. It's does they fit in the system? Do they believe in the cause? And that's what we're getting with Sideline Cancer.
Yeah, and I want to go to Mike next real quick, talk about sort of those weapons and how to use them. So he's assembled some really good teams at Team 23. But I want to just double down that whole Eric Thompson thing. And I think as a guy, a lot of us have played basketball at some high levels. Me, not at a high level. We all play. We're still rec players at the very least, all of us. And a guy like that who doesn't say a word about getting shots, doesn't bitch about not getting the ball, just has a constant motor. I rewatched some of the interviews we've had. So we've had him on a few times. And Coach Parker mentioned that he doesn't stop running. He gets rewarded off his own effort. And you need a guy like that who's that selfless to let all those weapons shine. So, he very well might be the most valuable player, despite only scoring a few points a game. Mike, if you had this sort of a lineup of all those sort of weapons, these lesser known but just talented, can you talk about what having that 3-headed backcourt of Keene, Abel, and Creek allows you to do offensively?
Oh, it allows you to do – they could play 4 out, 1 in and spread the offense. And, I just want to make a point about Eric Thompson, and I think we all noticed it the last game. I think there was a point, I think he hurt his ankle or something, and he did not want to get off the floor. Mm-hmm. And you would have never known, if you just tuned into that game late, that he, hurt himself earlier in the game. That just is a testament to how good he is. I can't believe that guy played at Pacific. There was a serious recruiting error there. But as far as Abel, Creek, and Marcus Keene go, I don't know if it gets any better than that 1 through 3. They're just as good as any 1 through 3 that this tournament has ever seen.
Definitely. I have so many weapons, and the way they're able to get those looks. And Charles, going back to some of these stats a little bit, we're able to scrub some of the stats. And one thing that stands out for me is how tight all the games for Sideline Cancer have been. They've been, with the exception of they kind of basically beat down a little bit Boeheim, so they had a really cold shooting night. But the closest to the games, the thing that jumps off of me is the balanced scoring of both these teams, but also the rebounds per game. That's a plus 12 rebounding advantage. Part of it's because Sideline doesn't, so act on the boards. Part of it's that Golden Eagles are so efficient. There's not that many rebounds to grab. Do you see this in a sort of winning this in the trenches being Sideline's best advantage?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, they're well balanced. I think Eric Thompson and Elgin Cook are going to have a great battle, but I think the battle's still going to be decided out front. How well Keene, Abel, and Creek play compared to Odom, Wilson, and Bikes. I think that's still going to be the driver of the game, but it's going to be, like I said, a difference maker in the trenches there. Sideline did have a pretty good rebounds per game, probably because your team, Boeheim's Army, missed so many stinking shots that it was really easy for them, but just kidding.
That's what I needed, an angrier girlfriend. That's what I needed in life. And quarantine, having a disappointed, angry Boeheim's Army girlfriend's exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, but and I think we'll see how the guard play goes, and it's going to be a real exciting game to watch.
Okay. With that note, see those stats, they speak for themselves. Let's go to the picks. I want to get these GM's opinions. Let's go. So, Matt, you're going to Sideline.
Absolutely.
Talk to me.
I've been when I saw them, obviously their road was tough, but I looked at their roster, they returned a lot. I told Mo Smith with Team Hines, I said, man, I know you guys are probably not happy with that 11 seed because the first round opponent of Sideline Cancer is a tough one. And he agreed. So I think they've had a tough road. They've proven it each and every game. I think their resilience is something that's going to come in big here in tonight's game. And so I'm going to pick Sideline, rooting for Billy and the rest of the Sideline. And I love their story, love what they're about, and love what they're promoting in the process. So I'll continue to ride with them.
We got a couple of OG guys from the tournament, and they tend to agree. Mike, your take on why Sideline's going to win this game?
Do you guys remember the 1995 Houston Rockets?
Yes.
they actually beat the 4 best records in the NBA that year. It was by far the hardest NBA finals road ever. I think you will watch this tournament for 20 years and you will not see a team face opponents as good as Sideline Cancer has faced. So to not pick them almost seems crazy to me at this point.
That's a good lead in because Charge, you being accused of being crazy. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I got to stick with Golden Eagles on paper. So let's put that straight now. On paper, they were my original pick when I submitted my bracket right before the first game. Golden Eagles, because Tim picked ALS, which we could talk about later. I went Golden Eagles just to cover myself, and it actually worked, Tim. But yeah, I went Golden Eagles. They just they made it to the finals last year. Lost to Ohio State. They improved from last year by adding Darius Johnson-Odom. So I felt really strong about the Golden Eagles team prior, but everyone who knows me personally and who have followed Zoom to TBT, my heart is 100% with Sideline Cancer. I lost my mom a little more than 2 years ago to pancreatic cancer, and this is a team I really hope that I'm totally wrong on. Like I said, I made this pick more than 10 days ago, but everything in me is rooting for Kathy, rooting for Billy, and I hope I'm wrong on this pick.
Yeah, I kind of hope I am too. So I'm going with Golden Eagles for a couple of reasons. One is I think both these teams are high quality. I think Sideline. I want to talk about Sideline for a minute. One last thing is that I like the way they play. I mean, Eric Thompson. We can't talk enough about him. We have a selfless bunch of guys who spread the ball. The guards all score a lot, but you know the idea that they're doing it for themselves. They're doing it because that's the way the offense works. And a guy like Thompson and Deion Wright also, like, he doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but every time he's throwing his body in there, getting a loose ball, like, he's that little like extra guy that helps, and Artis has helped a great deal. So Sideline deserves me in this game. It wouldn't shock me if this is a 1-possession, 2-possession game the whole way through. I'm going to go with Golden Eagles. And again, I back on Charge. I'm kind of hoping I'm wrong. Honestly, we're quasi-media, so we can supposed to be quasi-impartial. But I'm going to just go ahead and say I am rooting for Sideline. But these are both quality teams. I think the efficiency of the offense is where Golden Eagles might get there, because as good as Keene, Creek, and Abel are, they might be slightly less efficient. More volume. If they can get this to an efficiency thing where the pace is controlled by the Eagles, I think Sideline might have a slight problem. But if this is more than a 3-point game in the Elam, I'll be floored. This is going to be a game that's a straight pick 'em. I know Juan, who we couldn't have on the show tonight because of just time constraints, it's too late for the thing, said if you can find Sideline at a 7-point dog, he said to bet your house on it, by the way. He said just bet everything you had. So this will be much closer than that, obviously. And with that, we're going to go ahead and talk about the general picks of our panel. We've had a panel the whole time. It's the last time we're doing them. It's been a fun ride. We've done a remarkably poor job, honestly, especially me. I think I've gotten like half of them wrong. I've been a complete disaster, which is fine. I'm okay with that. So with that in mind, that's our picks. Matt Mitchell and Mike Iliano, thank you for coming on. You're more than welcome to stay, but we're going to pass the mic to a couple other guests right now. So you stay, you leave, but thank you so much for being our guest tonight and your insight on what it means to be in this championship game.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. And with that, I want to pass the mic to our first of a couple guests we want to talk to. We have the honor and privilege of having Tim Scarborough and Matt Martucci on, who are great guys. They've called the TBT together. They're professional play-by-play and analysts, and they do a great job at that. And we wanted to bring them on a little bit and talk about what it meant to call these games. Gentlemen, thanks for coming through tonight.
What's up, guys? What's going on?
I like the Liberty hat, Tim. It's very, very cool. So,
yeah, man, I had to represent tonight the Flames.
So, Tim, you're the only person that's called, to the best of my knowledge, I could be incorrect, that's played D1. Matt, you didn't play D1, right?
No, played high school ball. That was about it.
Fair enough. Yeah, so you and me are basically in the same boat. You're still a mean rec league player, though, right?
After I tore my foot a couple years ago, and that was the end of that.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
I could,
too young to retire.
Scar knows this, though. I could get off the floor a little bit in my day.
Okay. Could you dunk?
I was in a dunk contest or two in high school. Yeah.
Whoa.
Believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
We'll have to talk about the dunk contest then. Our title sponsor is a dunk camp, which I went to last year. It's a fun bunch of guys, but now, we got limited time. No one cares about that.
I think if I tried to do it now, Andrew, I'd tear my Achilles.
So, Tim, you've played at the highest levels before. You've played for conferences. You've played for titles at levels. Like, what's going through the player's mind right now?
Well, I think it's probably a different mindset for both teams. For Sideline, I think, they're playing for a bigger cause, and no one had them. Well, a few people did, but most people didn't have them going this far. So with that in mind, they are playing with house money and they have nothing to lose and they're playing relaxed. This Golden Eagles team, they have to be thinking, listen, we've gotten here. We've gotten to the Final Four 2 years ago. We got to the championship game, and a game they probably could have won if not for a couple of bounces here or there last year. And now they trudge all the way back a year later. Are they going to play with the burden of trying to get over that hump, or are they going to be relaxed and say, listen, we are better than them. We're going to win. I don't know, but it's a lot of psychological things that go through your mind when you're in this moment. The key is, much like when Matt and I last week had to bring back all of America for sports, for team sports, that was kind of a burden.
Thank you again. Was it really a burden? Was it a burden? Was it a burden?
It was a burden because, 197 countries. You ever been in front of 197 countries? That is a lot of people.
Only with my OnlyFans account.
Right. So, so with that in mind, you're thinking about all that pressure, but you got to put it all aside and focus on the task at hand. So I think that's what the Golden Eagles will try to do. But, man, this sideline cancer team, man, such good guard play. And that's what the Golden Eagles have. So I'm looking forward to that matchup between Maurice Acker and Marcus Key. 2 5'9", 5'10" guys that are quick, will have the ball in their hands a lot. It is going to be fun tonight.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to watch this game. I mean, I'm already hyped. Got the TV ready upstairs. And what's interesting about this matchup is it's kind of a take two. So I know we mentioned earlier that they actually played in the Wichita finals last year. Really close game last year, 88-80. Bikes won off for 34. Wilson had 22. And then Keene was only held to 7. And Matt, I don't know if you recall that game from last year, but are there any key takeaways from either team that, they can take into this year? What are the keys to improving and flipping the switch on them?
I mean, I think just the additions on both sides, I think are a big deal. Obviously the ability of sideline cancer to pick up a guy like Jamel Artis, who's obviously a difference maker. You were talking about Darius Johnson-Odom before, as a guy who didn't play for them a year ago for Golden Eagles. I think that could potentially be what swings this. That extra guy, the fact that you have Bikes, the fact that you have Cook, you have Wilson, and you have a Johnson-Odom. For sideline, you
so many weapons.
Just so many. I mean, it's just an embarrassment of riches. With sideline, you have that trio in the backcourt. You have Abel, you have Keene, you have Creek. Obviously, you have a guy like Artis who can also fill it up. But I think at the end of the day, what really swings it, I think, for me, for Golden Eagles potentially, is their discipline, late game situation, the ability to not make mistakes. These guys have been in so many tournaments, they've just like sideline has, but they've won so many games and they've come so close that I think you're going to get into a late game situation. It's not going to rattle them. They're not going to make mistakes late tonight. And I think it's going to come down to who makes the fewest mistakes during that Elam. Because as we saw, in that sideline game Sunday, Overseas Elite called the timeout that they wish they hadn't called, and otherwise we might have a totally different scenario potentially.
The Overseas Elite coach is great, but you think you walked home from Columbus,
right? Yeah, poor Mark Hughes, man.
Yeah.
Poor Mark Hughes.
Great coach, great
guy.
Yeah, but he walked home that night. They didn't fly him home. Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's simple, it's cliche. But whoever makes the fewest mistakes during the Elam, because you said it, Andrew. I think this is final possession, final 2 possessions in a tie game. If this is more than a 2 or 3 point Elam, color me really, really surprised.
I would agree. Yeah.
Tooch sounds like an analyst right now. I'm a little jealous. That was some sound analysis from both teams. Wow.
Well, let's loop you back in, Tim. Let's prove your worth here. So you've been there before. Let's talk about this. You were a guard, correct?
Yes. Point
so
guard.
You're used to being a guy who has the ball in his hands. What is it like having a big like Thompson who covers up a lot of sins, hedges well at the 3-point line? One thing I was shocked on, they got a couple switches where they had Thompson in like a 1-5 or a 2-5 switch up top on a high pick and roll, and he hedged and covered against some of the best overseas players in the world. Yeah. He wasn't taken. He wasn't beaten. what kind of a luxury is having an active big like that for a guard?
Well, first of all, let me just say I played in a different era where guard play was good, but you had to have a big, and we brought the ball down. And if it wasn't a fast break, we threw that thing inside and let them go to work, and we played inside out. Now the way the game is played is so much the bigs are 26, 27 feet out, setting screens on either side. The guard uses a lot of, the horns plays that a lot of teams run. But that ball screen offense is tough to stop when you have good guards, and both these teams do. So, I mean, it's just a different mindset now than when I played. So it's hard to really compare. But I will say this. The team, as Tooch just said, that takes care of the ball enough and gets those high-quality shots. Because I think both these teams are really solid on defense, too. And you mentioned Thompson being able to switch off. That versatility is something that John Calipari does with Kentucky. All his guys are between 6'6", 6'9". I see you, Andrew. Well, all those guys are versatile. It doesn't matter. It's positionless basketball. And even though you do have roles on offense, defensively, you have to be able to guard all 5 positions, even at the 5. Because what do in the NBA and in not as much in college, but certainly in the TBT? They find your big, they get them in ball screen action, and they see how you're going to play it. And the bigs on both teams can guard guards. So it's going to be interesting to see those switch-offs.
I will say this too. You mentioned Calipari, I think, just to hurt my feelings, Tim. But I will say it's like this time of year.
He does that from time to time.
I will say this. I as a Memphis fan who's been basically raised to this point to not like Calipari left, I will say I love one thing about Calipari, which plays into this tournament, and I love this about the man. I will always respect this. Is when he was at Memphis and now when he's at Kentucky, when a player comes in and they say, "Hey, listen, I got a chance of getting drafted. Should I stay?" He throws them out, tears up their scholarship, and says, "Hey, what's your money?" He goes, "I'm rich. Why shouldn't you be?" And that's the epitome of this. You got guys playing for both a cause, but also they're playing for some cash. And that's a good thing to bring up Calipari, because Calipari is about getting himself paid and getting his players paid. Legally, I might add, in the NBA. So I love that. It's a great mention because this tournament's about totally legal. Totally legal. But especially at Memphis, definitely legal at Memphis. Charles, what you got here?
Yeah, so Matt, let's talk a little bit about Travis Diener. He's kind of been a legend in the TBT circles, hitting big shot after big shot. He's been slowed a little bit this year. I remember the first game he didn't play at all. I did see his ice on his calf. Did get in, and of course 1 for 1 for 3, takes care of business. So what kind of role do you see Diener having tonight and impact on the game?
I mean, I think just kind of the way you saw on Sunday, Charge. The opportunity to come in and make a big shot potentially when you don't expect it. And it's weird to say that about Travis Diener because he's always made shots his whole career where you were like, all right, yeah, that guy could shoot. But with what he was dealing with being questionable going into that game the other day and then being able to come in and make a difference, I think that's going to be his role. You're going to see him come in and come off a pick or spot up and knock down a difference-making shot late. I don't think it's going to be typical Travis Diener where he's going to hit 5 or 6 threes. It's more going to be Travis Diener who knocks down a 3 or 2 and then comes on a Zoom interview and has a Coors Light in his hand.
Which I'm sure he will be, win or lose. But that's kind of what speaks to the depth of the Golden Eagles. So we haven't seen Diener at all this year.
And they're still fine.
And Andrew Rousey shot 89% from 3. It's actually 50-something% in the G League this last year. Really upped his game. I mean, next level. And they don't even have to use either one of those guys. So that just really speaks to their depth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's crazy about this roster. And you look at Sunday. I mean, I was just looking at the box score myself, and I saw a lot of Elgin Cook at Oregon. And with what he ended up going out with early, a few minutes into that game on Sunday, he ends up pulling his groin. He finds a way to come back and play 18 minutes. He ends up with the second highest plus minus on the floor the other day and still ends up with 10 points. I didn't think at the beginning of that game when that happened, I didn't think he was going to be able to do anything.
Right.
And anyone who's ever pulled your groin before, that's not exactly the most fun that you've ever had. But the fact that he was able to come in and actually make an impact and be one of the difference makers in that game, again, I think speaks to everything they have. Both these teams. The depth of sideline as well. We talked about Artis. We talked about Thompson. Dion Wright, the fact that Brown and White didn't end up having a team this year, what an addition for sideline cancer. Scar and I saw a ton of Dion Wright at St. Bonaventure. Talk about a guy who plays with an absolute chip on his shoulder. He's from Carson, California, played like 700 miles or whatever it was from St. Bonaventure. Didn't have one Division I scholarship offer pretty much until the Bonnies ended up coming, and has basically taken every time that someone has bet against him and flipped the script. Like his senior year wasn't an All Atlantic 10 selection, and basically said, you know what, I'm going to take it and I'm going to go into the tournament and I'm going to play that much better. And that's exactly what he's done his whole career.
Absolutely. Tim, obviously we're looking at this game. We expect a close game, a fun game. It's been a real pleasure having you and Matt on. You guys are incredible. And thanks for taking the time to see us tonight. It's been awesome. Obviously Marquette to win, the Marquette alumni, the Golden Eagles, they just have to kind of play what they've done the last 6 years, play at a high efficiency, get through their spots, hit shots. Tim, what does Sideline have to do to win this game?
Well, I think rebounding is something that we haven't really talked about. And when you start playing small, you tend to get hammered on that glass. And sometimes the other team will shoot until they make it, especially when you have small guards that don't come back and rebound. But they can get those long rebounds and they get those transition opportunities.
Yeah.
But rebounding is going to be huge. So how the Deion Wrights of this world play, certainly Thompson and how Jamil Wilson, we talk about Wilson's offense.
Yeah.
Wilson has to rebound tonight. He had 7 rebounds the other day in 30 minutes, but he may need to get 10 or 11 rebounds tonight. And it's probably going to come down to a loose ball, a tipped bucket, a tipped pass. You think about how Overseas Elite lost last year. Lighty lost the ball, goes between the defender, and it gets picked up, and Gibbs puts it in for the game winner. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
It usually is, really.
Yeah, usually it is. I mean, I'm so lucky myself. So I could just being on TV. I mean, I can't believe it half the time. But I think really the team that rebounds, the team that makes those hustle plays, it's probably going to come down to the wire. And you go back to that line being a 7-point spread. None of these games have been 7 or 8 points. So
no.
I mean, I would take that underdog all day. And honestly, I think Sideline has an excellent chance to win. I know Kathy likes to hear that.
Plus money.
That's a good lead in. Charge. Ask him their last question.
Yeah. So before we let you guys go, we got to get you on the hook for your official pick. So I did a poll earlier today on my Twitter account, and about 2/3 of the people, and I was specific, who will win the game between Golden Eagles and Sideline Cancer. 67% of people are picking Golden Eagles. And if I flipped it and said, who do you want to win, it'd be 99.9% of the people. Unless you're a Marquette alumni, you're picking Sideline Cancer. So, Matt, not who do you want to win, but who's going to win tonight's game and why?
So Scar and I have been texting back and forth probably over the course of like the last week since we came home. We had traded texts the other day too during the semis. And I said, I think Golden Eagles just has too much firepower. So I would take them. I am rooting for Sideline Cancer. Obvious reasons. I think I love the cause. I think the cause is bigger than anything anyone could potentially do. And for me personally, 2 days before I left for Indy to come call these games, we buried my dad. So my dad had Parkinson's for the better part of 9 years, and then ended up contracting COVID. So and then passed. So
do you understand the fire in
I absolutely understand.
With my son, I have another son that lives in North Carolina that can't, be on the court.
Yep.
But you understand. We just thought
I absolutely do.
Taking that pain and making it a game. Yep. It's that I can attitude. It's an athlete's attitude. That's all. My whole family is athletes, and we thought we're going from the sidelines to the finish line.
Wow, and I think Kathy, Billy's done such a great job putting together your team. We enjoyed talking to him so much.
I'd really love to see Billy be the GM of the year. I don't know how that goes about, but that would be. I can't say enough about him and his dedication. He knew Greg very well and knows my sons. He has just had fire in the belly. I mean, about all of this. And that would be awesome because I can't say enough about him.
Well, and I think too, for Scar and I personally, being in Philly in 2017 and watching Jermaine Marshall be able to take over a game, knowing what he meant. You know,
we carry his
that's a huge
spirit.
deal.
We do.
Yeah,
That's
a huge deal.
what's happening. That's definitely where the channeling is coming from, is Jermaine. They're all tapping in. And it's like he's just so with us. You know, energy that Jermaine Marshall has, as I see with my husband when he passes, it doesn't die. It's that attitude you leave on earth, that legacy. It stays with you and takes you that spirit goes right back into athletics. And that's exactly what's happening.
And watching that moment with Mo and your son the other night that was so great.
It's great.
That was awesome. That was awesome. That was one I'll cherish forever.
When I hear Kathy's voice, it makes me want to go out and play.
Yeah.
I think about Kathy in the locker room last year.
Literally, that is the type of energy my husband had. We both had that kind of energy. That's just to the people we met when we were 15 and 17. And we were a team, and we're still a team. You know, and that's what Greg said to me was, we're still going to be a team, Kath. I'm on the A team up there. Now he's got Kobe. Think about the team. He said, I'm going on the A team, and I think he has the Lord playing basketball now.
That's nice.
So it's good. So it's you literally, that in life, the attitude that you're going to have and put out into the world, that's the only thing we can control on this planet. Sports, that is what sports gives all of us, is that get up and go. We're going to keep going. You know what I mean? Where other people that may not understand sports, they give up. And we all see a lot of people that give up. You can't give up. You have to just keep on going. And that's Jermaine, he really exemplified that. I mean, the minute I met him, we connected. He immediately talked to me and said, I want to come to your dinner in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I had just met him. And he comes up to me and says, what's that dinner? He said, I will be there. And he and his girlfriend came, and we were just so honored to have him there. We had him speak at our dinner. That's the type of guy he was. It wasn't like, well, I'm new to this team. He just said, I'll be at that dinner. And sure enough, he was. And just really a passionate young man. And to lose him, back in January of 19, it was such a loss to all of us. I think we're still dealing with, as you saw Mo with Jordan, we're still dealing with the loss of Jermaine. You know what I mean? And that's what you saw. It's just, he was just the energy of our team. So
Yeah. So, and definitely an energy of that team. We're not going to use this as an excuse to let Tim off the hook, though. We got to get Tim's pick too. But before we get Tim, before we get
tough to make a pick with Cassie on the line, but
before we get pick, by the way, I like Matt's answer, but also I had a question for Tim. In sports media, do you really have to be impartial? So I always wonder about that. Like, you can't root from the actual press row, but when you're watching, you're just a fan as well, right?
Yeah, there's some human nature behind that. I know early when I used to cover Conference USA in the early days, and I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I loved that UAB team because I covered them a lot.
They were fun.
Yeah, they were fun, right? I mean, Chris Coakley, who was with that team last week, you saw what he could do, and he was a freshman during that time. And I got accused in the Conference USA fans. They were saying that those guys must be your sons because you cheer for them so much. I just like good basketball, right? I mean, if you're playing well, you're going to get love from Scar on the air. Tooch knows this better than most. And because of that, sometimes you may come off biased. But to answer your question, Andrew, I think as long as you're not calling that game, it's okay to make a pick. And I'm not calling the game tonight. We got the A team. We got Fran Fraschilla in the analyst seat. Best.
We have one of the A teams. We have one A team right here. We have one of the A teams.
Yeah, all right. A and A plus, A minus.
We appreciate that.
Right.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Well, exactly. I think I did Kathy a favor because we all know about the Scarborough curse.
Yeah.
And earlier I thought I had picked ALS, and as long as we thought that, they ended up losing, right? But then I went back to my official sheet, and it turns out I picked Golden Eagle.
Yeah. So Kathy, you're good. You're good.
Kathy, you are in great shape.
You're good.
Ready to celebrate tonight, Kathy.
That game.
It's in the bag.
Literally to our mantra. This was a mantra of Greg during his illness every single day. Thy will be done. And how freeing that is. You know, that was what he said every day, no matter what chemo treatment. Greg was such a balanced individual that he literally looked at life as, you know, Kathy, either I'm going to get to stay here or I'm going to go home. But in that interim, I'm going to keep changing the world. And that's what Greg did. You know what I'm saying? And then we took Greg's energy, as you can tell, and we just keep rolling that basketball, you know? And so that's what frees then all of us is, yeah, it'd be great to win and that'd be great, but I don't know what'll happen. I'm just going to go with the ride.
Riding the wave.
Ride the wave, ride the purple wave. That's kind of been our slogan, is parting the purple sea. That's the vision. That's another thing. Greg would always put a vision. I mean, athletes, you've got to put that vision in your mind. And so the vision that I kind of coined for what I could feel was the parting of a purple sea. You know, and I looked at it, if we didn't have COVID-19, my plan was to get a ton of people on buses, if we could have traveled, put us all in purple, and then have the team come through the purple wave. Do you see what I'm saying? Well, there's no purple wave this year, but we had to create it in our mind. So that's what I've been telling the team. Let's just keep parting that purple wave. So
I'm fired up for 2021 to see that now.
Yeah,
you gotta make that happen.
our goal. That's our goal. Bust them all from Central PA. Again, it'll depend on the location. We could have done it for Ohio, but we couldn't have done it if it was Kansas. But that was our dream. That was what Billy and I were, and Jordan and my other son, Jamie, were talking about, that we'd bus everybody and then create this purple wave with the team walk, you know, coming out through there. So good stuff.
There's definitely a gigantic purple wave, not the vision live person, but just hats off. I mean, just to you yourself. I'm getting messages, some friends of mine just really excited about how much energy and passion you bring to your organization. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about the organization and where they can go get more information if they want to get more information.
Okay, well, you know, this all started with Greg. We had a basketball tournament and a dinner. And so all the kids in the community, all the adults came together. They created and presented Greg and I while he was on his journey with our foundation. That was a gift to us. So the Greg and Kathy Griffith Foundation. Then after Greg died, students at our local high school came to me and said, we want to do more. So we created a campaign called Tackle Cancer. And then we met the Intel Science and Engineer Fair winner, Jack Andraka, in 2012. And he said Tackle Cancer was too limited. We needed a new slogan. So hence, we came up with Sideline Cancer, and one of the students saw the I Can. We trademarked it back in 2013, and that's been our slogan the whole way through. So really, you know, to get in touch with us, it's pretty easy. You just go to sidelinecancer.com. All of our information is on there. And, you know, we have clubs at Penn State University, St. Francis University here in Pennsylvania. Penn State really, right before the pandemic, we were ready to really take Sideline Cancer as a campaign, and then the pandemic hit. But hey, we'll see what happens. You know, it'll be what it's going to be.
Well, all of America's watching you guys tonight, so it does get bigger than actually being on national television in 190 plus countries. Guys, so here's hoping Sideline puts on a great show tonight. Looking forward to a great game. Kathy Griffith, Matt Martucci, Tim Scarborough, Charge, and me signing off. Go watch the game. Go to the show right now. Enjoy it. Guys, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
Good luck, Kathy.
All right,
Thank you.